We want participation. Correct? But it would be unfair for me to come to you and throw you into a bind. Say, but he left us without a what? Without a definition. And I'd like to suggest to you, and this is me, because you won't find it anywhere else, and you can quote me. He said the dictionaries do not have a definition, but Justice Kiryabwire says.
Yes.
That justice is perfect harmony.
Shalom.
If you can achieve it, you tell me how. But I'd like to suggest to you that justice is perfect what? You know, when God created Adam and Eve, he placed them in the Garden of Eden. And he said everything there was what?
Good.
Was good. The relationship between man and man was good. The relationship between man and the environment was good. The relationship between animals and man was good. There was perfect what? Harmony. I think that is the true definition of justice. I don't know if you will agree with me, but it doesn't matter even though you don't. That the number one thing that will allow for development, the number one thing that will allow for good health, a good environment to live in, is for there to be harmony in respect of all of these things. The moment you tamper with it, the moment you tamper with this harmony, you're going to get into what? Trouble. If you feel that let us give you an example. If you feel that it is okay to use might against those who do not have power, if you think it is okay, then you have created a disequilibrium, and therefore there can be no what?
Justice.
There can be no justice. I say to you that we are living in interesting times today. Why? Because what we know, what we think, and how we think is changing. We have more people on planet Earth. First of all, let us talk about people, okay? For you to have harmony, you must accept that there are people who are different from you. Yes, we are all made in the likeness of God, but we are different. Likeness, for me, I'd like to, and the theologian is here, I would like to believe means in the character of God. But some of you are tall, others are short, Others may be Caucasians, others may be Africans, others may be Sikhs, others may be Hindu. The important thing is that you are all what? Different. And the only way you can progress is if you get along. People make life difficult because they discriminate against religion. They discriminate against race. They discriminate against gender. That's what makes things difficult. Yeah, they were handling a case. And I know we have different traditions. But a homogeneous family is fighting each other because they feel that the girls in that family should not inherit property. You can say, in my tribe, girls do not inherit property, correct? Yes?
Yeah, many tribes.
But the question then comes out that if the girl is a child like you are, and you want to have harmony in that family, why should they not inherit?
Yeah.
That's what makes things difficult. In fact, these are reasons why we even have questions of murder. People are willing to kill because they are dealing with someone who is different. It might be okay if you are the one perpetuating it, but supposing you are the one who is different and they come after you. How will that feel? I always wonder, Rev, when I'm doing murder cases, what is the big deal about killing another person? You will also die.
Yeah.
And say, I'm going to kill you, and you're also going to die. If you knew that, would you go around killing people? Is it a question of the race to the death? And when you put it to them, they say, Satan yanyingide. So it is Satan.
Yeah, the devil.
Who caused me to think stupidly. We need to know that people are different. But also we are living in a time when the world order is changing. And I don't know, perhaps you follow, perhaps you are up to date. We're living in a time of change. There have never been as many people on planet Earth as they are today. Very many. The only problem is the resources are still the what? The same. So competition for resources has become a big issue. And so instead of dealing with distributive justice, people are thinking of, let me use power to do what? To access resources. Just the other day, President Trump said, I want Greenland. Whether you like it or not, I want what? And I want it because I am what? I am powerful. Just to make sure that people do not have any doubts about how powerful he is, he successfully went into Venezuela and extracted Maduro, who is the president, and took him to the United States. So strongman politics has returned, like the days of Hannibal. When you hear about all these issues of tariffs, when you hear about all these wars, it is all about fighting for what? Resources, as opposed to sharing them. And so you have the battle for Ukraine. The battle for Ukraine was very critical in the Second World War. We are just replaying the Odessa fire. Why? Because all the water around, most of the water around Russia, during winter it freezes. And the only access they have to water that does not freeze is via the Ukraine. And that is what it is all about. And people, yesterday was 4 years since the war in Ukraine started. And I was listening to it on television. The cost of that war so far is 70,000 people dead. 70,000 people dead in how many years? 4 years. And counting, because the war is still going on. And we're not talking about the people who have been displaced. We're not talking about the people who have been maimed, those who have lost limbs. Upholding justice in difficult times. If you were part of the delegation, like recently there was a delegation from the African Union to go to the President Putin and say, how do we resolve this? What sort of justice would you go for? If you are on that delegation, if you are the lawyer for the sisters who are being denied property in an estate, what would you go for? Because I have found that when I am in court, there's always a lawyer for the other side as well, which says that the girls should not get the what? The property, and that lawyer may be one of you. Yes, I've never found a case where someone says, I don't have counsel because they have refused, they disagree with me. There is always counsel for the other side. And that person will tell his client, let us go, I will fight. I will fight back at the Supreme Court, don't worry. You just give me the deposit. But for him and his family, they have distributed property to the girls. You see? And those interesting times. Where do you plug in yourself? Now, there are changes that are taking place. I know that many may have thought that when you come to this public lecture, we'll pull our handbrake around political challenges, correct? That the politics is bad. But I want to broaden your thinking. I want you to think broader. I want you to think broader. Do you know that there is a generational challenge? These are difficult times. Today, there are more people who are Gen Z and Alpha than people like me who are Gen X and baby boomers.
Yep.
Correct?
Millennials, yeah.
And that has defined what the Vice Chancellor has spoken about when he talked about the change of leadership that had taken place in the Uganda Law Society. What has happened in the Uganda Law Society is an example of the difficult times that we are living in. You have the Gen Zs, who are you, and you have the Alpha, who are after you, versus the millennials, the Gen X, and the baby boomers. And you know, the characteristic of Gen Z is it must happen now.
Yep.
It must what?
Happen now.
Happen now. Remember, I was having a public talk at the Law Development Center, and I know exactly what you are talking about. I asked the class, tell me, 5 of you, why did you choose to do law? I remember one girl who was brave enough to stand up and said, for me, I did law because within 2 or 3 months after graduating, I must be driving a BMW.
Hello.
We are dealing with an instant coffee generation. I call it an instant coffee generation. For us in our times, Nescafe was not there. We used to have this, it was called Superior. Huh? Have you ever seen Superior? No, you haven't. You see, it is ground coffee. When you put it in hot water, it just sinks to the bottom. And the water remains what? Clear. But when you boil it slowly, it starts to brew. Have you heard of the expression brewing coffee? After you have brewed the coffee, the whole coffee saturates the water. And I promise you, if you drink that coffee, it is heavenly.
Yes, sir.
It is heavenly. It is not flat like Nescafe. Not only is it heavenly, even your neighbor will know that the coffee is being brewed there. It is high quality coffee. People no longer have time for it. You know, in our days we used to watch movies. Today people watch TikTok. Why? Well, they don't have time to watch a whole movie. They don't have time. It is 1.5 hours watching a movie. Excuse me. I watch TikTok and then keep scrolling. We're into a tick. By the way, it's not personal. It is just a reality.
Yeah.
Why am I saying this? And I'm not saying that the Gen Z generation was good, or the baby boomer generation was good. I'm just putting out there a fact. You are going to practice when you leave KIU in a Gen Z environment. People who are not as patient as us. What sort of tools are you going to use when you're dealing with a fellow Gen Z? Everything must be done now. If we don't do it now, we shall bang the what? The table. But the good thing is that the Alpha on your bumper. And they will be totally different from you as well. They'll be totally what? Different from you. If you think that this is your time, you wait for the alphas. For them, they are totally different. For them, they'll come to society in AI mode. And that's the other thing why I keep saying that these are interesting times as opposed to just difficult times. Today, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is so different from the first industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution was characterized by hot water. Do you know that? Hot what? You boil water and you create what? Steam. And the steam would then drive the what? The engines. Do you know the first car was driven by hot water? It had a boiler. And the boiler would then create steam. The steam would then push the pistons would then move the wheels. In fact, it was an offshoot from the train, because the train did a great change in the way we live. And that train was driven by a boiler. Boiling water using coal, create steam, drive the pistons drive the wheels. And then you'd have the steam coming out, the excess steam coming out through the chimney. In fact, the Ugandans had a very nice way of describing it. They used to call it gali ya mukka. Correct?
Yeah.
You see, gali ya mukka was at its time an innovation. It was beyond belief. You people may now think it was backward, but at the time it was what? Beyond belief. Now imagine from that time to today, when we are talking about the Internet of Things. The fourth industrial revolution is driven by access to the Internet. There is nobody in this room here who does not have a mobile phone. In fact, if they remove that mobile phone from you, you can create a crisis. But the people of the first industrial revolution lived and they were happy without mobile what? Without mobile phones. That again determines how you will practice. There was, today, we're talking about when someone says, I'm going to take you to court. What do they mean? What are they saying? I'm going to sue you. The first image that comes into my mind is, oh, are they going to take me to Nakawa Court? Are they going to take me to Makindye? Are they going to take me to High Court, correct? That's the first image that comes to your mind. You are in the wrong generation. Today, court is no longer going to be a physical building. This is a courtroom. It's a moot courtroom. Okay? This moot courtroom is soon going to belong to the past. The future is going to be online dispute resolution. And we have started in the judiciary. Have you ever heard of ICMIS? Yes. Who has an ICMIS account? Reverend, you see. All these people are Gen Zs. They're in the fourth industrial revolution. And they don't have a ICMIS password. I only saw one person put up a hand. That is the future. That is the future. No, not the future. It is the present.
Yes.
It is no longer the future. The future is now the present. You cannot get into at least I know in my court, let me speak for the Court of Appeal, because we are doing it in phases. If you bring your pleadings and go to the registry and say, here, stamp, they will not accept them.
To upload them.
You have to upload them. We live in a situation, in a time, when you can go and get a visa online, correct?
True.
You can do banking online, yes? You can do shopping online. Why do you think you cannot go to court online?
Study online, church online.
Now we also have church online. So in your time, court will move from a premises to a service. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Am I talking to someone who understands what I'm saying?
Yep.
That is a difficult transition. It's a difficult what? Transition. It will happen at your time. And so when you're talking about that, who has watched the movie Terminator? They said they like it. Someone said that I like movies. Who has watched Terminator? Rev is the cameraman. Who else? None of you. You have watched. You know when Jesus went to the synagogue and opened the scroll and read,
Look for.
what did he say when he had finished? What did he say?
The Lord is upon me.
Sorry?
Is that look for?
What did he say?
It has been fulfilled before you.
It has been fulfilled before you. Terminator has been fulfilled in your lifetime. Central is present.
Yeah.
Central is what?
That's true. Yes.
All of you who are sitting here have what is called a digital footprint. Did you know that? By simply opening Gmail, you're finished.
Yep.
The issue of privacy has gone. That is the next big problem. The more you spend time on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc., the more you are exposing yourself. If you don't believe me, look at the recent changes in obtaining a visa to go to the United States. You are supposed to make available your digital footprint.
Yeah.
And if they find out that you are anti-America, they will not give you the visa. So those of you who are busy TikToking or WhatsApping to each other and saying, no, WhatsApp is a bit okay. But the other ones, the Instagrams and all, say, I don't like the way Trump operates. That might be your ticket to deny you to go to the United States. Say, but how did they know? Is that a difficult time?
It is. It is. Very.
Or is it a challenging time?
It's an interesting time.
It's an interesting time. I want you to be alive to these sort of things. And I'm amazed at the numbers of people in law school today. There are very many. You said how many had graduated from Makerere?
360 something, 367, 369, something like that.
300 odd people graduated yesterday from Makerere, just Makerere. When I graduated, we were 60. 60. We enroll about 100 advocates every 3 months in the judiciary. Every 3 months, we're enrolling about 100 advocates. That is a sea of advocates coming your way. But let me tell you what is also coming your way. The robo-lawyer. What is coming my way? The robo-judge. In your lifetime, and it is now, there's actually, in Chicago, there is a program which you can buy. It's called No Pay. You can Google it. Yeah? It's called what? No Pay. It is a chat box or a legal chat box, or if you want, a robo lawyer, which helps you fight cases in court. So you can put a mic, an earpiece, and have a mic. And as the case is going, you can ask this program, this algorithm, to give you what to tell the judge. It is disrupting, and that's the point of difficulty that is happening. We're living in an age of technological disruption. It is disrupting legal practice in Chicago, so much so that a group of lawyers took No Pay to court. The cause of action was No Pay was practicing law in Chicago without a practicing license. The court held what? It held that it was perfectly okay for a person to use No Pay to defend themselves in court. So soon you will be practicing law when the person on the other side is not a human being but a computer. Now, I told this to the KIU students some time back. How many of you have 5G phones? Or you don't know what G, as long as it's the latest model? Many of you actually have 5G phones and you don't know it. You only use it for... What does G mean? G is the speed at which the processor works. The higher the G, the faster the what? The processing. Right now, you can actually buy a 5G phone, and I think Airtel provides a 5G network. This is what is scary about practicing today. There are some countries, I think China has announced that they actually have cracked and moved from 5G to 6G. Some of you who follow these things may have what? Found. Is that a big problem?
It is. Very.
Is that a big problem?
It is a very big problem.
Let me tell you why it's a big problem. Because they say even though the computer can compute faster than a human mind, its thinking process must only be able to follow the algorithm. But at 6G, it is said that is where the human mind starts to function. So we're going to have computers which behave like the human mind. And that is why today you have computers which can think. Have you heard about that? Now, if computers can think, why would they use you? Why would they use you? Of course, it is true that very soon the human lawyer will have to adapt. The human judge will have to adapt. Because with the advent of AI, people will be able to access solutions much faster than what a human being can provide. Now, I want to move away from technology. When I talk about technology, I can talk until the cows come home. There are also social political changes that are taking place. And these tend to be popular amongst lawyers, especially the area of human rights. Talk about judicial independence, talk about access to justice. But I don't want to go deep in that because there is a lot of literature there for you. But the question that I want to leave with you is, as these challenges escalate, and they are going to what? Escalate. They are going to escalate. There's no doubt about it. Conflict between the population and government, population and the security forces, issues around elections like we have had. The question I want to leave with you is, how do you resolve it? Where is the next lawyer going to come from? Now, the immediate thinking that will come is this. If there's any of these problems, I will sue the other party. Correct? In fact, many of you are practicing your skills at drafting pleadings, even for your exams. No cause of what? Action. Duplex charges. But I'm asking the question, with over 400,000 cases in the Ugandan courts, how quickly can you provide a solution for your client? How quickly can you provide a solution? The average timeline for a case, I don't know about the magistrates' courts because I've never been there, but the average timeline for a case to move in the High Court is 7 years. And if you appeal to the Court of Appeal, the average timeline is 4 years. Today, the cases that we were dealing with this morning were all over 10 years in the Court of Appeal. And people are saying, oh, my client has died.
Yeah, it's likely to happen. My goodness.
But counsel is with his robes, still waiting to fight. And says, if I am defeated here, I will go to what? Supreme Court. It takes an average of also 4 years to get a hearing date in the what? In the Supreme Court.
Wow.
Does litigation represent the future? I'd like to suggest to you that increasingly litigation is going to represent the past. The new advocate, the successful advocate, is not going to be the litigator. Indeed, when I got out of law school, I was allowed to address the court for even 1.5 hours. And we prided ourselves with having good oratory skills. Sometimes we would even go to listen to people like Professor Sempebwa arguing a case. The English alone would make you feel that, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But today, no matter how good your English is, we shall tell you we want your written submissions. We don't have time to listen to your bad English. You know that? Have you been to the courts? Today the oralist has gone. But who has come in? Let me tell you this. Perhaps this will give you a background. Who has read the Hill report of 2016? One person. If you have read it, put your hands straight up. What does it say?
So much about that report is there's something that's written about case background. It's only 5% of the Ugandans that are actually going to appeal for justice. However, 95% of them so have members in the Uganda.
Absolutely, he's correct. Clap for him. But have you understood what he has said?
No.
Have you understood what he has said? Let me say it properly for you. With all the case backlog that is in the courts in Uganda, all of it, it only represents 5% of all disputes that have to be resolved in the country. What the Hill report further on goes to say that of the 5% of the disputes that go to courts, only 1% of the 5% have lawyers involved in the case. That is what all these 300, 400 students graduating are going into. Is that logical? You spend all these years in law school, law development center, masters, whatever, to go and join the 1%. When 95% of the Ugandan population are not using the courts, 95% of the Ugandan lawyers are not using lawyers. So let me tell you what is logical. What is logical is that you migrate from the 5% and start working for the 95%. That is when you will make money. And the 95% know that if you tell them that you shall solve their problem by going to court, they will not give you business. The next lawyer is the negotiator. The next lawyer is who? Is the person who can bring a resolution to a dispute through the art of negotiation. This is not rocket science. Rev, you have the Bible, okay?
Yes, sir.
Just read for these nice people. Matthew chapter 5 and starting at verse 25. I hope that is correct.
Is it the one about before your guy takes you to before you're taken to the justice? From 25?
Yeah.
All right. Matthew 5:25 says, "Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and to the guard, and you'll be put in prison." A police officer gave me this verse
Yes.
because he wanted me to resolve the matter with him quickly before he hands me to the judge.
2,000 years ago. Are we together? More than 2,000 years ago, Jesus knew that the future was with alternative dispute resolution. Why are you 2,000 years later still going to court? The future is mediation. The future is conciliation. The future is arbitration. That is the future. That's the future. I'm not saying do not learn to be a litigator, but I just want you to know that litigation is going down while ADR is going up. Are you going to purpose to be a peacemaker? Because litigation is adversarial, mediation is bringing people together. Mediation is part of what we call restorative what? Justice. I promise you, you will get more clients if you go down that route. Even in the courts today, even at the appellate level, we now have what is called appellate mediation. Have you heard about it? I'm the one who started appellate mediation. Let me blow my trumpet. Those who are jealous will not clap. I learned long time ago that the problems of the litigants do not belong to the courts. They belong to the what? To the people. Very few cases come to us which involve strangers. Did you know that? Contracts are concluded between people who have a relationship. So why don't you work around that relationship and create harmony? Okay? If you do that, you're more likely to overcome the difficulties of upholding justice today. In 2014, the Ugandan judiciary released what was called the Alternative Justice System, AJS. Who has heard of it? AJS is the Alternative Justice System, and it is designed to empower people who are non-judicial officers to partner with the judiciary to resolve disputes. People like Reverend here. We're now teaching reverends and preparing them to resolve disputes at the church level, so they don't have to come to us. We're empowering traditional leaders to resolve disputes at that level. We're empowering local government people to resolve disputes at that level. That is the future, in partnership with the judiciary. We tried it with the LCs, but right now we are taking it to another level. But I'd like to tell you that in some of our views, when we talk about alternative dispute resolution being mediation, conciliation, and what have you, we're saying it is alternative to litigation, isn't it? But you tend to forget that litigation only came to Uganda in 1902. There was no litigation in Uganda before 1902 order in council. Do you remember that one? Before the 1902 order in council, there were no courts in Uganda. There were no council. There were no advocates. We are behaving like those people who taught us in primary that Speak discovered the source of the knife. This thing is less than 200 years old. This one that we fight. What were we doing before? We were using chiefs, we were using elders, we were using family clan leaders to resolve disputes. We are going back there. You see, the problem with the order in council, it came with what was called the repugnancy clause. You know the repugnancy clause? Repugnancy clause said that if you think in a traditional way, it is bad. The only way you should think of is using the words res judicata, which he doesn't know what it means. Then you appear to be learned, eh? So I was in court today, my lawyer, he really hit the other side. He told them, this is res judicata. So what does that mean? I don't know, but it sounded very tough. Article 126 of the Constitution of Uganda says, the courts shall administer justice in the name of the people, and shall use the values and norms of the people to resolve the what? The dispute. We are going there. We are going to say that if there is a dispute over land which belongs to a clan, let the clan resolve it. Yes? Why should the court resolve a clan land? For me, I come from eastern Uganda. The clan land is in northern Uganda. Why should I resolve that one? I must listen to 5 people giving me expert evidence on clan land holding in Acholi. Why? And there are people in Acholi who know how land is held. Why don't you go and argue those cases before those people? And leave us with the hard stuff. I want to end how do you manage upholding justice in difficult times? I want to suggest to you the following. One, that if you want to achieve success, you must mirror the likeness of God. People should be able to see the likeness in God in what you do. Two, the best exit strategy, the end game if you want, is to restore harmony that has been destabilized. Three is to know that the way you see things is not the only way that exists. You must be humble and understand and put your legs in the shoes of other people. Some of my friends from Europe came and stayed with me, and they thought that I must be having a big problem to eat insanity, because for them they cannot understand how a person with all the fries, all the KFCs around would want to eat a grasshopper. But you see, they can eat KFC and I can also eat insanity, and it is okay. I do not have to hate that person because he's not of my religion. I do not have to hate that person because he's not of my gender. Because that is what is being pushed today. We must also practice law at that time. God has put us in this time. There's a time for everything. You are now in that time. The way we practice law is not the way you are going to practice law. The people you're going to deal with are not going to be as patient as you are. They'll want results very quickly. Know also the season in which you are in. This season is the fourth industrial revolution. Never forget that. It comes with its challenges. Lastly, have a mindset change. Remember that with all of these things happening in the world today, all these many things, whether political or whatever, the person who will succeed is the person who can negotiate his way out of a problem. A wise man once said, "You never get what you want in life." Do you know that? You never get what you want in life. You can only get what you negotiated for. I thank you for listening to me. You know, I told you that I knew that probably that's a big area that one would have thought about here. But for me, I see it as the same problem. Okay? You say, and you're correct, that the president appoints the electoral what? Commission. Who says so? Who says so? The will of the people. In 1995, you promulgated a new constitution which said that the president shall appoint the what? Electoral Commission. You.
They weren't appointments.
Yes. What does Article 1 of the Constitution say? What does Article 1 of the Constitution say? All? No. Say it properly. All power. Not just power. All power belongs to the people. And because of that, the people purpose, I've forgotten the article, that there shall be an electoral commission who shall be appointed by the president. Yes. Now you are complaining. Let me tell you this. If the mayor of Kampala appoints the electoral commission which runs an election in Uganda, I will deem that electoral commission unconstitutional. Because that is not what is provided in the what? Constitution. It will be contrary to Article 2, sub-Article 2. And shall be void to the extent of its what? So, all power belongs to that. If you have a second thought, what do you need to do? See? Democracy. Yes, Uganda is a democracy. So is the United States. Okay? So is England. There are very few countries in the world remaining today which are not what? Democracy. Are they the same? I think, like justice, democracy is not an event. Democracy is a journey. Democracy evolves. Do you know that as close as near as 1960, women could not vote in the United States? Did you know that? But everybody says, oh, America is a great democracy. Really? Black people could not vote. Black people could not sit in the same bus. There was a bus for black, there was a bus for white, there was a bus in South Africa for colored. But they used to go to vote every year in South Africa. They used to go to vote every year. And there was a winner and a loser. And the winner or loser determined what happened to the black person. That is what Nelson Mandela was all about, to change that one. But now, the black person is also voting in South Africa. I think it's better there. They've just finished one hurdle, they're now going on to another hurdle. So, yes, I think the best thing that can always happen in somebody's life is to speak with hindsight. If I knew then what I know now, I would not have done that. So now we're talking with what? Hindsight. We're not clever. We've just realized that probably what we did then, we should not have done. And by the way, we have been changing the constitution. Even some people have been involved in what are called what? Referendums. The 1995 constitution started with a one-party system. Then it moved into a multi-party system. That was again the will of the people being exercised by the constitution. Now, sir, Kizza Besigye, whether to pray or not to pray for Kizza Besigye, this is the question. People wanted to pray for Kizza Besigye at Rubanga. Now, I have nothing against Kizza Besigye. But I don't know if you really need to go to Rubanga to pray for him. But even though you choose to do so, that intervention creates what is called a political question. That intervention creates what is called a what? Political question. Who has heard of the political question theory in constitutional law? What does it say? Someone with an answer? What is the political question theory? What does it say? Tell your classmates, your fellow students.
Being colleagues, the political question doctrine. This is a doctrine whereby a given arm of government distances itself from answering questions on issues to do with politics or something political. Like to assume in the case of ex parte matopo, whereby the court distances itself from answering certain questions because they are political in nature.
Very correct. You see, there's a kind of talk amongst people in Uganda, especially around Kampala. They say, you keep in your lane. You keep in what? Your lane. If you keep changing lanes and you're driving, what will happen? You get into a what? Accident. You bring legal questions to the courts and solve political questions outside the courts. We really have big problems with these, now they are coming, these what are called election petitions. One of the things that the Parliamentary Elections Act says is that if you, one of the remedies that we can do as a court, if we find that someone has not been properly elected, is we can declare the what? The winner. I can assure you the courts walk away from that remedy. The business of choosing who your MP is belongs to the electorate. It does not belong to the judge. It does not belong to the courts. Political questions should be dealt with politically. If that is what has happened at Rubanga, No court is going to write an order for itself and go and say, you Archbishop Semogerere, you start leading mass now. We can't. We can't. We can't write an order. You, Kazimba, Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, or Sheikh Mbadi, you go and lead prayers now. We can't. It's tautologous. So, the remedy there is political. The remedy there is political. And I think that's what is happening. If I read the article that you read, I think some negotiations have started. Is that what I read? That's why I told you that the next lawyer is the negotiator. You can ask the question, why do you feel that this mass should not be conducted at Rubaka Cathedral? It is harmless. You negotiate with those who feel that it is harmful. Remember, people think differently. People think differently. You must accept that one. You never get what you want. I'm going back to what I have taught you today. Never get what you want. You get what? What you negotiate for. Those are the 4 questions.